So Rikesh, would you wear a baseball cap with tailoring?
Really depends on the cap.
So Rikesh, I know you're a bit of a hat wearer. Do you ever wear a baseball cap with tailoring?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's really cool. I used to wear fedoras and stuff quite a lot with tailoring. So
Okay.
you know your classic.
So you're a hat wearer?
Yeah.
That's quite a
bit rogue, innit?
yeah. But I guess used in the industry.
Yeah.
So it's less, if you're working for the Rate magazine, it's less of a statement than if you worked in a suburban building society.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it didn't look out of place for what I was doing and where I basically frequented more often than not. But yeah, I've found that I really like wearing more kind of casual caps, like baseball caps, but obviously not the traditional baseball 8 piece cap, but your generic term of baseball cap now, just the cap with a rounded peak, strong structure.
Okay.
I think it sits really well with tailoring.
But I think if you're wearing a baseball cap with tailoring, there's definitely an American influence, like preppy looking.
Yeah, for sure. But again, there's a way to do it well, but it's very easy to kind of overdo it. If you go with like, a cricket jumper, striped tie, regimental tie, whatever, then
that's our shoot tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you do tend to then, there's a fine line of looking cool and looking a little bit cosplay.
Okay.
And also it goes back to the thing that I said in terms of quality of craftsmanship, right? And if you find a cap that really fits you, which is the biggest problem that I think people have, is that people that don't wear hats are like, oh, hats don't suit me. But I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think they've not found the right kind of hat.
I've said that and I've written that, but I haven't found my own one yet.
Yeah, well, this is it.
Still looking.
It's a process.
It's a process.
But yeah, but I by chance found a couple caps that were like they were really well structured, really well made, and actually they sat really well. And
so is a hat for your practical thing, or is it a fashion accessory? Answer honestly.
Oh, it's a fashion accessory.
Okay.
Like my biggest gripe with
I see you're a glasses wearer, but when it's raining, having a beak is very nice.
It is.
Yeah.
But then for my profession, I can't wear a cap because then I can't take a photo.
Back to front.
Yeah, but then that's when I go into real American mode, which is.
But that's a vibe. Everyone. If you go into a set, everyone knows you're a photographer.
Yeah.
Even if we put a camera up.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I found like when you find the right cap, it can actually work really well. But again, I wouldn't necessarily wear it with a 2-piece suit. I would probably wear it with separates.
I was going to say a 3-piece.
Well, no, I mean that's. You should do that.
I will do that. 3-piece suit and baseball cap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Try it. See how you go.
Next shoot together.
Nice. So yeah, when I wear it with, because separates generally are on the casual side.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Broadly speaking,
to an
without
extent,
getting too depth into that. Yeah.
But then wearing a cap as well doesn't really seem too obvious.
Yeah.
Like it can, and especially when you wear a cap that has a similar color palette. I have a very specific color palette that you'll always generally see me in, and my caps range from cream to a really nice bottle green corduroy.
Oh, nice. So texture and plain colours.
Yeah, I just think it really kind of accentuates. And
no vintage baseball brands or names or.
I don't necessarily wear anything with sports teams. Vintage generally, like patterned or like motif stuff, can work. The same way you mentioned in terms of having t-shirts that are plain rather than having logos on them, I find the same thing when it comes to caps. I think the cleaner the cap, if it's textured, that's great, because that kind of is what kind of gives it a bit of pop. And that for me, I think really works.
And cap and tie?
Yeah, I've done that quite a few times actually, when I really want to play into it. But then when I do that, I usually don't wear a jacket.
Okay.
So I would kind of like, for any additional casualization or actually even formality in that sense, it's very easy to kind of look like you're dressing up.
No, of course. I mean, I think that's an interesting point, because unlike swapping out your loafers for sneakers, wearing a baseball cap, although you was a fedora wearer, for most people, the hat isn't common anymore. Even when back in the 80s, 90s, when I was in German Street, Savile Row, men weren't wearing hats. You'd see a few old school tailors wearing them, but if you saw a guy in Savile wearing a hat, he was a cutter.
Yeah.
He was very rarely a customer.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think it's an interesting one to wear a baseball cap with your tailoring, because you're not really dressing down, you're adding something which wasn't there before.
Yeah.
So if it's done in a considered stylish way and you're wearing it naturally, yeah, I think I'm surprisingly a fan.
Yeah,
but I'm not doing it.
Fair enough.
Well, I hope you found that segment interesting. If you're interested in some practical advice on how to incorporate casual dressing into your wardrobe, there's a link below to high-low dressing. We look forward to reading your comments, and don't forget to subscribe.